Okay, and then scrolling here, go to where?
Something's messed up, so
Oh, because I got to do scrolling on this. So
you
so I
would
put it
you would
here.
like to, you don't have to.
Okay, okay, I can do that. That helped.
Yeah, but if you go down forever, you've got to be really careful
Right.
because
That,
this slides and then
that's this. Okay, got it. So I have to use the mouse on it.
and it's a mess. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's almost no.
And
Okay, got it. Thank you, Paul.
okay. Are you
You
gonna
want to
move
wire me?
or are you gonna stay?
I'll probably stay here, but go ahead and wire me. All right, I have passed out a handout called Guhl's Rules. Last year, I presented that for the first time when my grandson turned 16. I have more driving experience than he does, and I work in a rehab center, see people with motor vehicle accidents. You don't want to be there. So I came up with a set of rules for him for driving. Got some good feedback from you folks last year, so I did a revision. So this is the revised version of Gould's rules. Standing up here, I'm a little nervous because I'm a bunch of intelligent, smart people. So they said to break some of the tension, maybe I tell a joke. And Steve told one the other day. So what does do? What's Winnie the Pooh and Alexander the Great have in common? Same middle name. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking on quantum physiology. This is the first time I presented that, and I thought this would be an appropriate thing. We've got some open-minded, deep thinkers here, and there's been quantum biology, but I haven't seen an awful lot of quantum physiology. So this is something with Jeff's experience that I've copyrighted. Um, we do a lot talking to this weekend about neurology, biochemistry, mechanical, behavioral processes, and those are important. And the information I'm going to talk today dovetails with that, but it's more foundational. It's at a different level, and hopefully it'll be a paradigm shift for you. I have to talk quickly, so I'm going to use my auctioneer voice as you follow along. I have no disclosures. Imagine, if you will, a complex and somewhat convoluted topic, a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. I present to you a roadmap of what I call objectives, or more accurately, provocations for your consideration. I will take you to the realms rarely contemplated. Next step, the quantum zone.
That was you.
I've connected dots from various sources. The topics seem disjointed, but at least on a quantum level are interwoven or at least related. It's kind of like eight blind men describing an elephant. There are a lot of varied topics and perspectives from different viewpoints, so indulge my jumping around and enjoy the journey. What's the most profound discovery in our history? You might think it's the discovery of fire. We are able to put a man on the moon with fire, but then there's LA, Maui, and other problems. I would argue that it's Einstein's Scottish equation, E equals mc2. We have made power plants and the conversion of matter into energy for power plants, atomic bombs, which now we can destroy the earth, which we couldn't do with sticks and arrows in the past. More profoundly, it's a reversible equation. What are the implications of that? That we can make energy into matter. Last year was the United Nations International Year of Quantum Science. Quantum physics sheds a whole different perspective and a frame of reference from our classical physical view that we typically use. There's a logic to it. It's widely established, but it isn't intuitive. It seems illogical from our Newtonian perspective. And it isn't well incorporated in our thinking or practice in healthcare. We typically use our Newtonian or classical theme of reference, and that made sense, but Out of the many experiences in fields of study, it seemed unrelated, and some of them we viewed as pseudoscience. So these are kind of the concepts between what we typically think of and the quantum concepts. Our standard view, we normally think of the viewpoint of physical physics. We talk about plus and minus charges, cell membranes, biochemical processes, drug reactivities, things of this sort. And Einstein, though, founded 100 years ago, more on energy flow. It's a subatomic process. It's not widely applied, but just as valid. But it's hard to relate to. It's not experiential. It's not something we can see on a subatomic level. We're at a whole different scale of things. But it's the foundational. It's the underpinnings of vision and many of our other functions. Yet we're limited by our receptors, including retinal. We can't experience 5G, for example. We can't pick that up. So we operate from our 5 major senses and our 3D view of the world. Now, I'm not a quantum physicist by any means. Okay, but there has been a lot of movement, a lot of new discoveries in the field recently. And in fact, in my research, I found out, you've heard of Albert Einstein? I always thought he was just a theoretical physicist, but it turns out he's a real person. So if you look at the speed of light, okay, it's fixed at 186,000 miles per second. So there's a paradox here. Imagine that you're on a moving train, moving at the speed of light, and you turn the headlight on. Does the light ever leave the lantern? If it does, what speed is it going? How about if you had parallel mirrors on that train as it's going down the path at the speed of light, you have the hypotenuse of the light beam as it bounces back and forth between those parallel mirrors. How fast are those lights going? Well, if the speed of light is fixed, how does that make any sense? Well, it turns out that it's resolved because time is the relative entity. We use GPSs because we have satellites orbiting the Earth at a high speed, and their clock slows down because they're traveling at a high speed, so they will lose about 36 nanoseconds a day. And 1 nanosecond comes up with a resolution of about a foot, 30 centimeters. So as the speed of light, time slows down, it stops, space compresses to an infinitely narrow, but expands laterally to the ends of the universe. This is part of the quantum family, okay? It's composed of different entities called quarks, which are delineated by characters such as their valence or charge, their spin, color, things that we use in that. And then we have fermions, which are the neutrons and protons, whose component parts are those quarks and energy. The other category are the bosons, or force field carriers. And of these we're familiar with are the the photons, which are carrying electromagnetic energies, light. The Higgs boson, also known as the God particle or the goddamn particle because it was so hard to find and frustrating, it had only been discovered in the last 20 years, were formed at the Big Bang and infused the universe with a cosmic energy. This Higgs field, when the Higgs bosons decay, they form quarks. And this is the conversion of cosmic energy into atoms. And just as we have a periodic table of the elements atoms, we also have a periodic model of these subatomic particles here. So in quantum physics, it works on probabilities. There's an ambiguity, and the more certain you are of the velocity of an object, you're less certain of its position. That's called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. And according to Schrödinger, there are a multitude of simultaneous possibilities that exist called superposition, and which can be present until they're observed or tested, and only then one becomes manifest. Until observed, measured, or even envisioned, it is not concretely identified. But the very act of observations influences the outcome. The double slit experiment showed that photons are both waves or particles, depending on observation. And as they cool, the vibrational energy of atoms in a quantum world changes. So you have atoms vibrating in different frequencies, but as they cool down, now the frequencies, because everything slows down, it becomes a single common wavelength, and you get a merging of these atoms, and it becomes one atom. And so that's the fifth phase of energy, or of matter. We have solid, we have liquid, we have gas, we have plasma, excited atoms, and now we have the Bose-Einstein condensate. Schrodinger's supermarket. Are they open or not? Okay, both are possibilities basked in uncertainty. It lives that way until you try the door. So view the universe as a blank canvas. There exists a palette of infinite liquid colors, and out of those infinite possibilities, you choose some, and they become manifest, drying into a solid substance, into existence that you can then see part of your world. The answer becomes apparent only then, but your actions, observations, and choices, subconsciously or consciously, have influenced the resolution. And until then, all things were possibilities. So what we see currently is built upon the probabilities of the past, which had many possibilities, represented by the lower cone here you see. And that cone would oscillate depending on what choices we make and what influences are there, till it winds up at a point on that plane in the middle, which is our current physical reality in this time and space. The future holds many possibilities, shown by the cone extending up from where we currently are in the plane of where these cones intersect. At the speed of light, time slows down and becomes a single unit. And what does that look like in this model? As time and these cones collapse in the middle, our current state, at this instant, time becomes irrelevant, space expands to infinity, and we know that light conveys information. What's in all places, all times, and knows all things? God is light. Things have a vibrational frequency, and there's a spectrum of frequencies, some that are unseen and others that we can see our eyes at various wavelengths of frequencies, the visible spectrum. In music, there's solfeggio frequencies, and they're named and they go like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. In the body, that encompasses from 174 to 963 hertz. The highest one at 963 hertz being the crown chakra, which enhances sleep, well-being, and acts as a doorway to spiritual experiences. Even the earth has a resonance frequencies, the Schulman frequencies. And there's a cosmic background microwave frequency field that is a residue from the Big Bang. Call that the Higgs field that we referred to before. It's the foundation of all things in existence. So our universe started at the Big Bang. Did that occur when we crossed an event horizon into a black hole, forming what we know as our universe? Are we really made and exist in a black hole? There's some thought that that might be the case, and this would explain some of the mathematical conundrums in astrophysics. So NASA just came out with that this past year. Objects have a specific frequency that gives a maximum oscillation. A singer can break a glass at the right frequency, its resonance frequency. This can occur over a distance if you have two identical tuning forks that strike one, the other will also vibrate at the same time. In quantum physics, that's a property called entanglement. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. There's a non-locality of particles that are connected instantly, faster than the speed of light, to the ends of the universe. Our bodies have eyes, have cellular components, and these cells are complex, not just the reductionist representations we often see, a nucleus and few pieces floating around in the fluid. Rather, it's a space that's as crowded as Times Square is on New Year's Eve, as seen in this microscopic electron photograph. We recognize and use energy in our bodies to test and to treat eye care. And in medicine, I once toured Pfizer Pharmaceuticals research department, and I saw an oriental painting there. I asked my host, Alan, who's the head of Pfizer's research, about it, and he said that they had duplicated the active ingredients in Chinese herbs and medicines and made pills out of them, but it didn't work. It was lacking something, and maybe that's the energetic component. Many cultures describe it with various names, and there are models based on energy and pathways and vortexes of energy. And quantum quarks are the transitional mechanism from energy to matter. So the quantum conundrum, it's based on a science that's been around 100 years, and there are important components to the visual function and manifest existence. But in spite of good evidence, the quantum metal of science is oft overlooked. The IT field is now embracing it with quantum computers. Should we be that far behind? It provides a foundational understanding of many alternative concepts. As an optometrist, my foundation in standard healthcare model serves my patients and myself well. I've also had many varied interests in my career, some that I outline here. Many of these are discounted as pseudoscience and considered unsubstantiated. Yet I've experienced enough positive results far above placebo effect and events that defy the law of physics as I understand it. At the Syntonics conference in South Dakota a number of years ago, I heard a talk from a keynote speaker, Dr. Olya Lopaszynski from Amsterdam, who works for a Swiss company, Bioptron, UNP, a Swiss organization of which she is a citizen, a Serb citizen, awarded her the Woman of the 21st Century. At that conference in Rapid City, she lectured on biophoton light and quantum energy. And it's this quantum approach that was the missing piece that is the center of this Venn diagram of all my varied interests. Radiating energy into the eye initiates vision, of course, but the term energy encompasses an array of fields. We have the standard medical procedures, things that are clinically effective, and others that are well documented, to alternative health practices, and to traditionally esoteric fields. Someone once recommended that I try Tai Chi to improve my health and vigor. And so I got one from Starbucks, but it really didn't seem to have much effect. So here we have a photo using Carillion technology demonstrating an energetic or an auric field. A photographic plate converts the outflow of energy of the body into a form that we can see. This is almost much like a night goggles that convert our energy into visual light. The auric model encompasses chakras as repositories of energy vortexes that serve as a connection between our physical and our energetic body. And they're usually rooted in endocrine glands. And there's a certain functions, colors, emotions, and characteristics ascribed to them. The resonance frequencies vary again from 396 to 963 hertz, the solfeggio frequencies entering again. Our language often reflects sensory feelings tied to emotions. You can have butterflies in the stomach. You can have cold feet. You have hearts that may be hardened or ache or compound with excitement. This slide shows a result of a study, multi-site, cross-cultural, self-reported study. And these participants identified where they felt somatic sensations brought on by different emotions. This body somatosensory mapping may reflect changes in either skeletal muscle, neuroendocrine, or autonomic nervous system. And notice how these correlate with chakras and the possible response to energy. Acupuncture is a therapy utilizing well-documented meridians of energy. The acupuncture meridian is an energetic flow channel that flows through our body, named for where it surfaces and we can access it and into the organs that it feeds. View it as a canal for energy. If you get a lock that is stuck on a canal, upstream from that, you get flooding, an excess of energy. We call that inflammation. Downstream from the stuck lock, you get a drought of energy, and we call that degeneration. And isn't that the underlying cause of most of our diseases, either inflammatory, degenerative? Specific treatment sites called acupuncture points exist and anatomically are where there are intersecting planes of fascial tissue. By inserting a needle and twisting it, you're tenting up these fibers and these fibroblasts, and you're tenting them up. And then as you relax them, they physically and physiologically are altered. And this increases the flow of energy again through them, and it's redirected. In medical research, we use functional MRIs to demonstrate brain activity. And here's an image of the angular gyrus being stimulated and lighting up there. Visual function stimulates occipital cortex, illustrated here in the bottom left. In the top right is the occipital cortex. And in the lower left, you see an functional MRI from visual stimulation of the retina. Interesting, by using acupuncture to stimulate the VA, or the visual acupuncture 1 point, also known as the bladder 67, which is on the lateral aspect of the leg, of the foot, right next to the little toe, yield a similar response as seen in the middle photograph. Whereas acupuncture control points, a non-control point, just a random points, did not show that as seen in the picture in the lower right side. What's interesting is that the amplitude would be similar, but the response would be just the opposite, whether you're a yin or yang, which are basically opposite natures of the person's individual sense. We're radiant beings. Every cell of our body emits lights or infrared biophotons, and it's this energy that the night vision scopes detect and convert to visible light that we can see. Our cells biophotons have structure, and they themselves are a multi-layered energy field or aura. The premise in homeopathy is that the appropriate homeopathic made substance that causes a set of symptoms in a healthy person will cure those same symptoms in a sick person. And would this energetic effect be similar to when we expose a body to an attenuated virus to activate the body's immune system, a vaccine? Is this energy imparted by shaking or potentiation then act as a similar matter, absorbing energy into the fluid and imparting some characteristic into that process? Gerald Pollack has done some fascinating work with what is termed EZ water, fourth phase of water, or exclusion zone, as he calls it. Plain water touching a hydrophilic substance forms and illuminated by light forms this layer. EZ is a self-supporting structure. It can bridge over two glasses filled with EZ water. It's electrically charged and creates a water flow that repulses impurities. And it offers some interesting concepts, promising low-tech, light-driven energy production and water purification possibilities. Light creates this movement, nothing external, just this pumping. Math does not work out that the heart is the only pumping mechanism. Does self-illumination from biophotons or ambient light enhance red blood flow movement through the capillaries? Is there a connective tissue component in these capillaries that helps with the pumping? And what do we really do when we shine light in the body, or as we do in syntonics, into the eye? And how does this affect visual function, brain activity, and body's metabolism? How deep do these therapies really go?
In the water, we found constant unending flow. So here's the experiment. Here's the tube, and you can see the tube is put into water. We fill it on the inside just to make sure it's really filled inside. Put it in.
So you see the hydrophilic tube, which could be a blood vessel. And he illuminates light onto it and forms this easy zone. So you can see that the impurities are pushed away from the membrane, go towards the center of the tube, and it flows just with the light activity. There's no other external pumping mechanism going on here. So what a concept. Easy water pumps from light from without and within via our own biophotons. Imagine what else is going on in the retina as a light-sensing organ, as it also functions to express or modulate various neurotransmitters. The eye functions as a mechanism to detect various medical issues, a field called oculomics. An example of current researchers is looking at the ganglion cells, a representation of brain tissue. Surprise. A neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's may be evident there. So we're probably using the eye as a portal to various vascular systems, and it's probably just the tip of the iceberg. I've explored the area of study for over 40 years with jaw-dropping results, as the iris functions not only as a genetic marker, but also a sampling of connective tissue density throughout the body, and it demonstrates many tendencies. It has both central nervous system and autonomic nervous system, as well as connection through the body via the trigeminal brainstem complex and the spinal innervation. This study, called iridology, indicates inherent innervation, predispositions, and other risk factors. And I found it to be a very comprehensive analysis tool of a person. The eye functions as an encyclopedia of the person at many levels. It is tricky. Is there an energetic component as well? Researchers are using pattern recognition and deep learning software and have found that about a 90% correlation with various medical conditions in iridology maps. It's also an expression of one's energy. The thin stroma of an elderly person correlates well with reduced vitality or energy, as an example. Several years ago, I presented the iris also functions as a photoreceptor, much like the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, with somatic connections. The embryology, the molecular chemistry, the neuroanatomy, and connections to brainstem with its connections to the rest of the body are all there, as well as the physiological response from iris stimulation are all in place. Is this part of the mechanism that we use in syntonics? The visually sensitive retina is not limited to being an organ for seeing. Neurophotonics is a new field that looks at how the eye connects to the brain and controls many functions by moderating visual input, visual function through lenses, colors, tints, and occlusion. Profound changes in neurology and bodily function can occur. By altering or blocking the input to specific areas of the brain, of the retina, it's topographically mapped to various parts of the brain. And these brain centers can be inhibited or excited. The biochemistry changes, as are many neurotransmitters as well. I know this is news to syntonics optometrists. Yet the visual function mechanisms and the rationale for being better defined and studied by others. Finally, after 90 years, the world is discovering we're not idiots. So here we have Deborah Zielinski putting, like, I think these are like 3 base down prisms on Allie, who as a physician, got viral encephalitis while she was on a mission in Africa, and it's pretty brittle. So you can see how just a small amount of prism is exhausting to somebody who has had a acquired brain insult. And this next one she's putting just a little piece of tape on her glasses and obstructing her view. And notice what effect it has on her bodily function. She's not making this up, she says. Now she takes the tape off, and she's back. Now she's putting tape on another part on the other lens, and it affects her auditory capacity. Allie's trying to speak. Now she's back. So that's neurophotonics. The retina is an inverted system. I guess there's a rationale for that because our photoreceptors need supply of nutrients and oxygen from the coronal capillaries. But how do you see through all that blood? You know, because you can't see through blood. But how do we see through all this matter that's there? Vascular, neural tissue, structural supports. They have to go through all of this before they hit a photoreceptor. Well, how does that happen? That's kind of like buying a television with the pixels on the backside of all the wiring. Doesn't make sense. Well, Mueller cells, which you've always viewed as being support tissue between the inner and outer layers, limiting membranes, and also offering nutritional support, also act like a light pipe. They're fiber optic. When a photon enters the retina, it goes into a Mueller cell, which then goes one-to-one on cones into an array of receptors, rod receptors, to get better night visibility. Ta-da. Okay. In addition to Mueller cells, other connective tissue also acts like light pipes. The fascia, the biophotons can use these fibers for intercellular communication. There's a type of molecule called an integrin molecule that allows connection all the way from their DNA through the fascial tissue to the entire body. And there's a pathway within connecting us at the speed of light. Dr. Oshman spoke about this at a Syntotics conference, and I'll include the iris as part of that connective tissue complex. So these integrin molecules go all the way through the cell membrane, diving intracellularly to our DNA and connecting a pathway from our DNA through this extracellular communication system. We know the retina and cortical response times to light stimulation. Transmission speed in myelinated fibers is about 100 meters a second. Motor response to just pushing a button takes at least a quarter of a second. A reaction to a visual trigger with a motor response takes over a second for most people. Bob Munden responded by directing the gun towards a target and accurately pointing and shooting. He's quick even when responding to a signal in other videos that I've seen. Is this just freaky fast or indicative of a parallel, non-biological pathway that uses biphotons, microtubules, fascia, and intercellular matrix that operates at the speed of light?
Fast is the fastest thing a human being does. Nobody does anything faster than I do with guns.
Can you give it a comparison to something that would come close, but is not as fast?
Speed of light, which is far beyond it.
Right.
There is nothing next to it. Now you say, the way you talk about it, well, I mean, and then I have to show you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fastest gun in the world right here. Bob, you are quick.
Well, the first reaction people have when they see this draw is, wait a minute, could you really hit anything doing that?
Right.
Well, let me show you my own way with a target that is indeed out of the holster. Let me set this target up. I'll shoot about 8 feet away because I'm shooting blanks now. Here we go.
Now,
You can tell this is an old video.
I draw it's got to be in less than 2/100ths of 1 second.
Howard University hosts a Center for Quantum Biological Research, and they have some amazing publications. Any one of these premises would be a game changer, but the four together are mind-boggling. A computer compilation of biological events is an op and an intellectual exercise supported by pages of mathematical protocols. Dr. Kirian calculated that since time began in the entire universe, with all life forms, there's 10 to the 123rd hops. And that's more than a Google, which is 10 to the 100th. He also defined in how biology began on Earth.
You're on the other screen.
I was trying to get it there. Okay, thanks, Paul. Okay. He then next demonstrated how biological quantum mechanism, and this can open the door to quantum computers that don't require supercooling and can be miniaturized. His experiments also showed a non-neurological pathway in life forms, even single-cell organisms, that is 1 billion times faster than neurology transmission. Any one discovery would have been revolutionary, but publishing all of these recently, and this is well-researched and documented science. Superradiance is when a quantum system, an excited atom, and even a single photon emits light at a coordinated, coherent fashion that increases the brightness and speed of transmission and emission. Dr. Kurian from Howard University, in a publication this past March, validates the existence of superradiance in a single photon. And in room temperature proton networks of quantum emitters in the body. It happens in brain and with many neurons and biophotons when they are collectively emit energy, and effect is enhanced when it is like that. When nerves wire together, they fire. When nerves fire together, they wire together. In this case, the output of the biophotons is enhanced by the square of the number of emitters. And this large network of quantum emitters exist in cellular skeletals and microtubules and support the superradiant states that convey information throughout the body with a maximum speed of 10 to the 12th to 10 to the 15 ops per second, which is more than 1 billion times faster than the computational capacity expected of a neural pathway. Those are his words. This is measures in attoseconds. And we're familiar with femto and picoseconds. But attoseconds are so much faster. And 1 attosecond, speed of light at 186,000 miles per second, will travel half the width of a human hair. So is this the speed of quantum entanglement? I was just reading a couple days ago, somebody suggested that would be the case and be like 232 attoseconds is the speed that quantum entanglement occurs. It's a crazy paper, requires a PhD to even read it. So these proton networks of quantum emitters are found in both aneural, i.e. single cell, as well as in stable organized bundles and neural axons. Single photon superradiance will drastically increase estimates for the computational capacity of neural and aneural organisms. Kurian also continues by discussing the essential amino acid tryptophan, and not only a precursor to serotonin, but also absorbs UV and re-radiates it at a lower wavelength. It is found in many parts of the body as well as in the environment, and this remarkable experimental computation of single photon superradiance in a ubiquitous biological architecture and at thermal equilibrium is opening new lines of inquiry across quantum optics and will impact the future of quantum computing as a biological requiring huge infrastructure for supercooling and also showing more complex computers. I saw a quantum computer about the size of a quarter. After the invention of the electron microscope in the 60s and 70s, the retinal structure, can I get my volunteers up here? John and Matha, was pretty well understood. Yet researchers at Duke University in February of 2025, a new structure that surrounds human rods and travels their length. This sensory inner segment connects Mueller cells and are filled with microtubules. Is this the component of the tryptophan or Mueller cell photoenergetic pathway? So here's a mapping of energy flow from Tibet. Now I have a couple volunteers here that I'm going to work with and demonstrate some energy stuff for you. So
Quickly, though.
So,
Quickly.
yeah.
Here.
Okay. So, okay. Doesn't take long. Okay. So,
Which way do you want to see this?
okay. Let's face that way so you can do it. Okay. All right. So, actually, John, you stand over here. Okay. Okay. So, we're going to test her energy level. Go ahead.
If you do it sideways,
Okay.
all I see is his back.
All right. Keep your hand flat. Okay, got a baseline on her? So John's doing this, so I'm not sandbagging it, okay? Okay, John, test her again. Okay. Okay. Okay, John. Stronger? Okay, so electromagnetic bodies, my hands are transmitters, and what I did is engaged her energy field and weakened it. You've seen, and then I brought it back. So you've seen karate people doing this. I'm lowering your energy, raising mine. Now we're going to do another one here.
Because of the brightness behind you, if you move this way,
Okay.
you're just in silhouette.
All right. John, test. I ain't done with you yet. Okay, weakened. Okay.
His eyes are closed, by the way.
John, test again. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, thanks, guys.
You just bring up the coherence of the whole room now.
So what happened here? Okay, I explained the first time. Maybe it makes sense. I can use the electromagnetic model to reduce it. But the second time, I used intent. I thought. Okay. And that in itself, using intention, was weakening or strengthening her field. So thoughts have power. Prayer is real. So quantum physics presents a very different frame of reference from our classical physical view, and is a provocative model of vision and how it functions. There's a logic to quantum, and it's solidly established, but it's an experiential, seems illogical from a Newtonian perspective, isn't well incorporated in our thinking and practice. Quantum deals with possibilities, and there is a continuum between vibration, energy, and matter, mediated by essential subatomic elements, quarks. Where electrophotic, as cells have a life force and metabolism, is a programmed intelligence. A single cell built your body. Can you use your intellect to do that?
Way off on that screen.
I got 4 more slides. Yeah. This is my summary. So our cellular status, not our mobile phones. You know, we have metacognition. We know future, past, and intelligence. Our cellular status, not our mobile phones, is the background of existence and state of health. Cells emit photons. There's an intracellular communication using light and energy. For us, quantum provides a common theme that made sense out of our many experiences and fields of study that seem unrelated or what can be viewed as pseudoscience, but raise many questions. What are the concepts of the unified quantum field? What we do affects us and affects others? But these concepts require in many fields. Is this meant for, what do we do with this information? Has this approach been investigated, discarded, or ignored? Is it important? How should we and what would we do in order to validate and incorporate these concepts into our modeling of human experience and our vision? Is there a pathway to include this information in a functional model and clinical operational framework? Are quarks acting as a bridge between matter and energy, and how does that view or change our view of existence and our work as optometrists? When we're looking at things, are we really seeing what we see? Is the world really pixels of like a model. We're looking at icons. The icon on a screen is not the thing. It is a representation of the thing. Are we spending our time defining the pixels of this that compose them without looking at what's beyond? Dorothy, look behind the curtain. Are we living in a matrix or living in a black hole? Yale researchers have identified the central thalamus and midbrain fasciculus as center of consciousness in a paper published this past May, or is the pineal gland? Would we use connecting point for non-corporal things? Our bodies contain elements and from the cosmos. Tryptophan has been identified in the interstellar media and is used as a meteoritic amino acid seeding for biological life on Earth. Carl Sagan said, we're made of star stuff. More surprisingly, we are made of different stars than the Big Bang itself. Matter originates from cosmic dust, decayed stars. Remember the quantum equation, E equals mc squared. Our ultimate energy source is the sun. Your origin is of this, literally your parentage of the stars. You are frozen light. You are but dust.